Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. You like that? 3, 1, 2, 3. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Yes, it's day 7,423 of Kirk Watch.
You like that? You like that?
2024.
You like that? 3, 1, 2, 3. You like that?
How are we holding up? Are you guys weary? Are you tired? Are you mentally fatigued by Kirk Watch yet? Or are you still feeling rejuvenated?
Dex, how are you?
I'm okay. I would love a resolution. Like I'm ready for the resolution to happen here in 5 to 7 days. I do want that day to come. I'm not like annoyed by the fact of we're still talking about it, but I would love a resolution.
So you're getting a little sick of Kirk Watch.
You like that?
Just a little.
2024.
Just a little. I love talking about this type of stuff and the new wrinkles that like enter like every day from either Florio reports or who are from even Schefter or whatnot. I love that, but I would love a resolution. I would love a resolution here.
I'm high on football right now. I am so happy. Like it's yeah, this is great. Are you kidding? This is my time of year. This is a drug. This is a football drug. Kirk is a drug. Like next week, once this is done, I'm gonna crash. I'm gonna have to go to Kirk detox. It's gonna suck. This is outstanding.
Kirk rehab? Is there? We should open our door. Actually, you know what? Thinking back yesterday, I got a little over emotional, and I told some of the Cousins Crusaders, "Listen, you are in timeout for the next couple years, while everyone else roots for a new quarterback." I think you're right. This can be a Cousins Crusader refugee safe haven here.
Yep.
It's a Kirk rehab center. Whether you've been pro Kirk, anti Kirk, Purple Daily is welcoming you with open arms to whatever the future holds.
It's the Kirk Clinic.
The Kirk Clinic.
I'm going to check in, but no, I am. I think this week is
30-day impatient.
I think it might be. No, are you kidding? 60-day. This is going to take a while to detox
with the news cycle. We need outpatient care here. We can't be just staying there full time. We need to be out. Care.
Okay.
Yes.
By the way, Miles Gorham from Purple Daily on Draft.
Yeah,
he sent us a screenshot of Kirk's Instagram account. So, and we'll play you some clips. We'll play that. We're kind of going in like 24-hour cycles here. We're gathering all the different Kirk Watch 2024 information, speculation. So we'll get you the latest. And there's some Mike Florio doozies from yesterday. But one of them was him floating like, oh, the Cousins are looking at schools, preschools, whatever. So Kirk went on his Instagram this morning, and it's a picture of him and his son Turner. I'll just hold this up, old janky style, to the screen here. It's him and his son at a preschool place saying preschool visit today with Turner, and they're reading a book and Turner is smiling at the camera. Now, we don't know if this is a preschool in the Twin Cities, in Atlanta, in Michigan.
We don't know.
In Washington, D.C., maybe in Henderson, Nevada. We don't know where the preschool is.
We don't even know if Turner is actually happy there or just being told.
Or if that's even the real Turner.
Exactly. Could be an actor. It could be a paid performer. Hey, find me a happy kid. Okay, Mr. Cousins, just as quick as we can.
He's going to be missing a couple teeth, just big smile. Looks a little like Kirk.
Preschool age.
So, okay, let's start with... So Mike Florio, yesterday we talked about the article he posted 36 hours ago where he said, hey, very cryptically on profootballtalk.com, I can't tell you everything, but let's just throw it out there that Kirk and his family are potentially moving to Atlanta, right? And then he started to elaborate more on his own Pro Football Talk Live yesterday. He also took a shot at the other NFL insiders that are too tied in with agents to speak the truth. And he went on like a conspiracy rant yesterday.
Yeah.
I love me some Mike Florio this time of year. I don't know what his batting average is, but that man is willing and open to recklessly speculate.
Yep.
So let's play 2 clips. We'll start with this one. This is sort of what he is hearing on the latest Cousins, Atlanta, Minnesota love triangle.
Kirk Cousins. It's not final yet, but the Atlanta Falcons are the team to watch for Kirk Cousins. The indications are there. And maybe it's all part of the broader bluff to get the Vikings to increase their offer. I mean, if you're going to commit to the bit, you do things like, say, go check out schools that your kids will go to, or go find a house that you'll buy if you happen to buy a house within 10 minutes of the team facility, or start talking to, I don't know, the guy who currently wears your preferred number about getting it. Those are the kinds of things. I'm not saying they've happened here. Those are the kinds of things that would indicate that a potential relocation of the Cousins family is being contemplated. Now, again, it's never done until it's done.
For the audio and video audience, because we had a screenshot, note the gigantic wink right when he says, I'm not saying that that's what's happening. Wink.
Great. That's a great freeze of the screen right there with him winking and half wink.
So he's essentially saying it's not done, and it can't be done yet because you're not allowed to actually talk contract until Monday. What do you say about that, by the way? All this Atlanta steam. Is there any way for this to not be tampering? I don't really care either way. I mean, people tamper at the combine all the time for decades, but right. The fact that it's moving this far down the road, reportedly, several days before you can actually talk contract within the parameters of the NFL structure is interesting.
All you have to know about tampering is that in 2008, the Vikings were found not guilty of tampering with Brett Favre when they were clearly in discussions with Brett Favre.
Right.
So like the league draws these imaginary lines and then they move them around. It's like, okay, we'll have legal tampering to make it look even better. But yes, it's tampering and nothing will happen, partially because the league loves this. Like, look at all the talk that they're getting from this Cousins thing right now. It's great. So like, yes, it's tampering. No one cares. And if this was a Falcon coming to the Vikings fans would be like, oh, this is fantastic.
So here's the second part of the clip, and this is where it gets even crazier. Not crazy in like a Mike Florio. I'm saying like Mike decided, I'm just going to unveil my sources on PFT Live. And he did the same thing on the Pat McAfee show. So this is where he gets into, how do you have this information about Kirk and where things stand with Atlanta?
And it could be too late. That was one of the vibes I got when we had Kirk Cousins on the set at the Super Bowl, and Mrs. Cousins was talking to Mrs. Florio, and I had a chance to participate in their conversation for a little bit. She didn't say anything definitive, but one of the vibes I got is, why do we got to wait so long for the Vikings to do what they claim to want to do? At some point, the human beings say, you had your chance. The other one, the ones in Atlanta, by the way, where Cousins' wife grew up and her parents still live, they're coming after us. You're not. You're aloof. You're standoffish. You're daring us to go out and find another offer. Okay, we will. That's the risk you take. And that's where, and they got this analytics heavy approach. You still got to remember you're dealing with human beings here.
Yeah.
Even though it is interchangeable parts on a giant football machine that will always keep rolling, you still have to deal with the human beings who are those interchangeable parts. And O'Connell wants him. Somebody else doesn't. Not badly enough. Whether it's Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, whether it's Mark Wilf, whether it's Ziggy Wilf, somebody doesn't want Cousins enough. And Chris, the wheels are in motion for the Falcons to take him.
So this is wild, because ordinarily in local and national NFL reporting circles, and Judd, you can speak for hours on this because this was your living for years. You thought Kirk watch was something fierce. Brett Favre watch was over multiple. It was like 3 years. And all these different twists and turns. But ordinarily, when you're reporting on something like this or anything in the NFL, you keep sources out of the light, right? That's why I know people get mad when Schefters and Rappaports and Florios and the Zolgads back in the day, a source told me, a source close to the situation. Well, that's how you get information without burning your sources. So you have to just sort of trust that, okay, if a guy like Ian Rappaport or Judd Zolgad, lead beat writer, Star Tribune back in the day, says, hey, a Viking source or a close source to Brett Favre indicated this, just trust me that I've got some solid information. Florio decided, you know what? I'm just going to tell everyone. Kirk's wife was talking to my wife, and then he kind of goes in. He didn't quote her directly, but he basically said, I talked to Kirk on set. Kirk's wife was talking to my wife. And, you could see how they would think this, that, and the other, and he starts paraphrasing. He's basically saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Judd, if I'm taking this a step too far. Mike Florio is basically saying Julie Cousins told his wife that the Cousins family feels disrespected and slighted by the Vikings because they haven't given into the Cousins contract demand yet. Right.
And the best part of the whole thing is Mike Florio is the third wheel in the conversation. Like he clearly
Hey guys,
joined up late
how's it
and
going?
started to listen, and then he uses all this. But no, yeah, she was. Look, the Cousins. The whole thing with Kirk is it's not just a Kirk thing. Like that's the thing. Yes, it's largely Kirk, but it's also Julie. It's also his family, right? Yeah. So this all tracks perfectly. And I'm telling you, when we were talking to Kirk last spring after the contract didn't get done a year ago, March. And I asked him the question. I said, have you had any more discussions about the contract? I mean, this is last spring. This is like last May. And he basically said something along the lines of, well, no, now that that's done, we'll wait until March. Like he was offended. Like it doesn't take a lot to figure that out. So yes, there is no doubt though, that what Mike Florio is saying, again, this is where he's different from the Schefters and the Pelisseros and the Rappaport, because those guys trade in information, but they keep it very confidential.
They don't give their opinion very often.
They don't give their opinion, and it usually doesn't come, my guess is, from a third-party source like a wife. This is where Mike has the great advantage because he can throw this out, and he might end up being wrong, but what he ascertained is not wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, he's already proven wrong on one thing. Because one of the nuggets he threw out was, hey, these are the types of things you would do if the wheels are headed toward Atlanta. And one of the things was you'd be talking to Kyle Pitts about number 8, getting your number 8. Well, Kyle Pitts went on Twitter yesterday, retweeted that video clip or whatever and said, no, this is this is not true or happening right now.
Well, and Kirk, so the thing with that, though, is Florio's very cautious to say these are the things that you would do. I'm not saying that he is. So he's covering his tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the ultimate reckless speculation thing. But in this week, I actually appreciate it. Like, this is what you want. This is exactly what you want. Look, you can ignore, if you want to wait till the press release comes out, and God knows I know some people that do, you can just wait till next week. Don't read stuff. I mean,
yeah.
If you're a press release person, you shouldn't be on Twitter. You shouldn't be on X. You'll
get a press release not Monday when the actual news probably comes down.
No,
because Wednesday's the day where you can just wait till Wednesday. You can hibernate. But what do you guys make of this notion? Because Florio is, again, he's not direct quoting Mrs. Cousins or Kirk himself, but he is saying, hey, at the combine, there were some conversations happening with me and Kirk's wife and my wife. And then in the other sentence, he talks about feeling disrespected, feeling like, well, you guys have waited all this time and you're daring us to go get another offer. Well, we're fine. Okay. Well, we're human beings. Yeah, we're feeling a little triggered by this. The idea that the Cousins family feels disrespected or slighted by the Vikings. How does that land with you guys?
I get it at this point. I mean, they look at it as they've been here for 6 years. They've been accommodating to a degree. They love it here. Their families love it here. He's close with the head coach. He's finally got the guy he likes and that embraces him and wants him the most out of it. And the head coach has been very public for the most part of saying, I want Kirk back. I think if Kevin O'Connell was the GM, he would have signed Kirk to probably the demands for the most part of what Kirk Cousins wanted. And they feel disrespected probably by the ownership and probably by the general manager that they haven't been able to get what they want. So now they're on the prowl saying, you know what, fine. If you think you could do better, we're going to go out and find better for ourselves too. So I do get the Cousins family side of that feeling like they are disrespected.
This is why I long go on rants about guys who's play here for too long and end up feeling like they deserve to be here.
This is why you hate Adam Thielen.
This is the Thielen thing. This is the Ryan Suter thing. This is the Zach Parise thing. They act like they're entitled to be here. You're a professional athlete. You play in a cutthroat business. If the team decides that they're not going to win, by the way, the Vikings have paid you extremely well. You could argue better than they should have.
$185 million over 6 years.
But I don't care if you like it here. Like, that's my thing. Then move here. Then move here in the offseason. Your career, Like you're going to be around 40 when you stop playing. I hope to God you have at least 40 good years left, right? Like this entitlement, and I actually feel in some ways it comes from how we treat, and it's a credit and a bad thing. I feel like, the fan base here, and to a certain degree, the media, we adopt guys and we treat them like they belong. And there's very minimal at times criticism or pressure compared to what it would be in a major market like a Boston, a New York. And so families decide we love it here. Okay, that's awesome. Then move here. But you do not have any entitlement to stay here for the rest of your career because you think that you should make X amount. And Kirk Cousins is the poster child for a guy. The way you live your life financially, you should bounce around.
Yeah, I think this notion rubs me the wrong way. And I want to be a little careful because
I'm triggered.
Florio's not quoting Julie Cousins directly or Kirk directly, but he's strongly insinuating, I had these conversations. You all want to question my sources? Okay. I had these conversations with the family off the microphone.
Like you said, he just comes out like,
right?
Here are my sources. Here are my sources.
He's like, y'all think you're talking to agents. I'm talking to the family because I am Mike Florio.
And he's not wrong.
And this idea that the Cousins are being disrespected in some way or slighted in some way, I think Kirk owes the Vikings more than the Vikings owe Kirk. With his next contract, and it might be with the Falcons, he's about to move into the top 5 highest paid NFL players in the history of the league. The Vikings have paid him the majority of that money. The Vikings have made him one of the richest professional athletes in the world. They don't owe him anything else beyond this point. And what has he delivered, or the team led by him, built around him, delivered in the last 6 years? 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff win. And yes, he's likable. The Netflix documentary was a great glimpse into how great of a father he is, how great of a friend and teammate and all these things. But at the end of the day, to Judd's point, this is professional sports. The train continues to move forward with or without you. And the Vikings have decided, you know what? Maybe they've decided. We don't know. We won't know officially until probably Monday. Dude, we've paid you $185 million. Now you're 36. You're coming off an Achilles. Like, we want to pay you more, and here's our offer. And if you can get something bigger and better somewhere else, if that's your priority, that's fine. But don't paint it like the Vikings somehow did you wrong. Like, that's real. And I don't know, again, like, this is kind of a game of telephone, so I want to be careful putting those words in their mouths specifically. But if that's how they feel, I would say, guys, you just made $185 million and went to the playoffs twice. Like, you should be grateful as all get up for Rick Spielman, the Wilfs, Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell. And
where I disagree with Florio's wording completely is to say Kevin O'Connell wants him back, which we all agree he does. But then somebody doesn't. No, somebody has just drawn a financial line in the sand, which is smart. Like, we don't want Kirk back would be to come out and say, we don't want Kirk back.
We're not making an offer. We have not made an offer.
There is no offer.
Moving on. Hey, you'd send a thank you. You'd literally put out like a full day of press releases like they did with Eric Kendricks and Thielen, right?
But I disagree with Mike. If the Wilfs or if Kwesi Mensah has said, hey, look, here's the deal. Rick Spielman paid him too much. We have continued that trend for a couple of years now. And now it's time to tell Kirk, if you want to play ball, here's the price. That is not telling him you don't want him. That is Kirk Cousins' decision. And if Kirk Cousins loves it here and his family does, like if he has to, like if he finds that, you know what, for all these years I was driven by finances, and now I realize what's really important is my family in Minnesota, then go to the Vikings tomorrow and say, I'll sign whatever you want. And winning. Yeah. Well, that's the one thing we haven't heard at all, right? And we got the email from the listener yesterday. It's like, it's all about money and respect and contract length. And it has nothing to do, to this point, it has nothing to do with, hey, what do I need to do to, I'm clearly coming back. Like, what do I need to do to make this team get it to the next level? Like, that's been zero part of the conversation. I got a question for you. What's your definition of winning? Well, mine is Super Bowl. I don't know what his is. March. He talks a lot about how his job is from September through January. Okay, yeah, well, the season goes until mid-February. Brilliant distancing.
Here's another question for you guys. Actually, another big question after we shout out our friends at Quick Trip here. So let's say hi to Quick Trip, and then we'll take a deep breath and get to another big question.
In fact, Dex, can I get the full screen? Because what I have here is a bumper sticker that I got from the fine folks at Quick Trip. Honk if you're going to Quick Trip for fried chicken. I can put this on my bumper today. But you know what, Quick Trip? You're selling yourself short. Why are you doing that? You got to have a bumper sticker that's like really long, because it's not just fried chicken. It's fried chicken. It's chicken tenders. It's roasted whole chicken. You will put Quick Trip's chicken mano a mano with any of those competitions, any of the competitors, because this isn't about just gasoline. Sure, they have gasoline. This isn't just about snacks. Yes, they have snacks, but they also have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and chicken is a big one of those. Roasted whole chicken, chicken tenders, boneless wings. That's right. So this bumper sticker, yeah, it's accurate. Yeah, it's great, but it only speaks to part of what Quick Trip is about when it comes to their delicious chicken.
Thank you, Quick Trip, for existing and for supporting our podcast here. So your former colleague and current Vikings reporter for ESPN.com, Kevin Seifert, threw out an interesting article from John Keim, and I'll just read Kevin's tweet. For no particular reason, he says, the great John Keim wrote this in 2022 about Washington's inability to replace Kirk Cousins. It hasn't been for a lack of trying and drafting, and the franchise is still trying to replace Kirk Cousins in 2024, 6 years later. It's the 7th offseason since Cousins departed Washington, and they're still sitting here kind of shrugging their shoulders, trying to figure out how to replace that production, right?
Sure.
I think on this show, we've made a lot of points about the Cousins fearmongers, the fear peddlers. Beware the Ides of Kirk. Be careful what you wish for, right? Mm-hmm. Are you worried that this could be a Washington situation where, all right, be careful what you wish for. Look what happened to Washington, 7 years, and they're still trying to replace quarterback productivity, winning 7 games every year?
No, I'm not. Because first of all, Washington, which just changed hands in ownership, was a dumpster fire. Like we've talked about this. The Vikings are almost, and I don't know exactly why, but they are dumpster fire proof. Okay. So like Washington and the Wilfs care.
They're good NFL owners.
Good owners. Exactly right. Daniel Snyder was a buffoon. He was an idiot. He was terrible. And the fact is this. So let's sort of deconstruct this. Okay. Oh my God, Kirk Cousins left and we can't find a quarterback. There is something known now as the Cousins curse. Well, if that's the case, let's go back and look at all of Kirk's playoff success in Washington. Let's look at all of the Super Bowls, the Brady-like greatness that they can't replace. Okay, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist there. It doesn't exist here. Furthermore, you hired largely Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion, to, yes, get the most that he could from Kirk, which I think he actually did, credit to him. But also, that's the tip of the iceberg. Kevin's a young man. Hopefully he has years and years as a coach left to develop quarterbacks. Like that would be like saying, well, Alex Smith left the Chiefs. Oh boy, what happens? You never know until you turn the page. And if you trust the guy developing the quarterback, it actually might work out great. So no, I don't. If Washington had let Kirk go and Kirk had all this litany of success, which by the way, they wouldn't have, they actually would have signed him long-term. The whole hang up was that Washington, which was a dumpster fire, was still smart enough to say, is this guy really going to like get us over the hump? Which the answer so far in Kirk's entire career is no. So no, I have no concern at all. If that ends up being a problem here, that's an O'Connell problem. It's a Kwesi problem, and they'll both be fired at some point for it. But I am willing to dive into that end of the pool without a life preserver on to take the chance that the answer might be you replaced him.
And look, the Vikings have had success with random quarterbacks before, and I know Cousins, is the stable one and the franchise guy that you paid, and you were hopeful that you were going to make Super Bowl runs with him as the last piece. But the Vikings have done, with different coaching staffs and ownership, they've done pretty well with random guys. So, yes, you want the stable, you want the franchise guy that you draft, that you build upon, but they've also been fine when they've had Tavares Jackson and Gus Frerotte and Case Keenum, Matt Castle being a stopgap option before Teddy. They acquire Sam Bradford, and that team actually did all right before the wheels came off with injuries. So it's not like you're entering Browns territory where you're continually drafting and missing on the same guy over and over again. This team has actually done pretty well with random quarterbacks before too. So the idea that you're entering this purgatory again isn't that frightening to me.
I'm glad Dex brought this up. I'm glad you mentioned T-Jack specifically because before we started recording the podcast here today, I set out to answer this question objectively. This notion that, hey, the Vikings brace yourselves. The Vikings are about to get a lot worse if Kirk leaves. Be careful what you wish for. Beware the Ides of Kirk, right? 19 years of Wilf ownership. The Vikings average 8.5 wins. Mm-hmm. In the games started by Kirk Cousins, the Vikings average 9 wins per 16 games. So he's like the Vikings are a half win better per season with Kirk. By the way, I'm not counting the Josh Dobbs games. Like, take those games out. In the games started by Kirk, his winning percentage over 16 games is a 9-win average. The Wilfs are an 8.5 win average. In the 5 seasons where Tavares Jackson, Christian Ponder, or Teddy Bridgewater were the team's leading passers, the Vikings averaged 8 wins. So led by T-Jack, Ponder, Bridgewater, 8 wins. Led by Kirk Cousins, 9 wins. In the 3 years before Kirk Cousins signed with the Vikings averaged 11 wins. So I guess this whole notion that they're doomed, are we sure? Like, literally, we have 19 years of Wilf ownership information. You could probably extrapolate the same exact numbers going back to Red McCombs. I mean, they were actually a Super Bowl contender a couple times with Red McCombs and random quarterbacks like Randall Cunningham, and then they drafted Dante Culpepper and went to an NFC Championship game. So if I'm averaging 8.5 wins over 2 decades with the hodgepodge of all quarterbacks, and I'm averaging 9 wins with a highly paid Kirk, or 8 wins with T-Jack, Ponder, Teddy Bridgewater, who are not very good quarterbacks, what does that tell me? This franchise is pretty much dumpster fire proof. Like, there's a lot of ways to get to 8.5 or 9 wins. I might as well see what's behind door number 2. Yeah. Well, that's the lesson that I'm learning here.
12 years, 4 playoff appearances, split between 2 teams. Hit those teams 1-4. So he's been to the playoffs 4 times in 12 years, and his teams have won 1 game. That means one of 2 things. You can even absolve him. It means he's not very good when it really counts. Or let's just say it's not Kirk's fault, because I got that note again yesterday. It's not Kirk's fault.
Well, nothing's ever Kirk's fault.
The offensive line was bad. Okay, that's fine. But here is the problem. Part of it is he's being paid too much relative to the rest of the salary for me to have a good enough team around him to win those playoff games.
And in fairness, the Vikings have drafted poorly over the last 5 years. Like, there's other influential factors here that are true.
But
there's
I can't.
A bunch of things that can be true.
But his salary has also meant I can't necessarily go in and fill the gaps if I draft poorly. There's no room. Hit that contract in the situation that I'm in leaves me no room to correct the wrongs.
Yep. So we'll see what happens here in the next 24 hours of Kirk Watch.
Julie Cousins.
24.
Fountain of information.
Yeah. Do you think that she was expecting that information to go public 72 hours later?
No,
on
but
national
you know what?
TV?
Kudos to Mrs. Florio for smoking it out and starting what seemed to be probably a very private discussion. And then for Mike swooping in.
Tell me what's going to happen. Mike's hiding in the
He's behind a
trees.
plant.
Man, it's just ridiculous. Hey, before we say goodbye here, we do have a Write That Down episode also.
I want a mock!
Charles Davis has a 1.0 on NFL.com here. The Chuckster.
Oh, we're getting serious now. When
Charles Davis doesn't even bother mocking until after the combine. He's like, give me the information first, and then we can.
Oh yeah, okay.
Go. So he's got, I don't know if he has trades or not here, but he has the Bears going Caleb Williams, Commanders going Jaden Daniels, Patriots going Drake May, Cardinals Marvin Harrison Jr., Chargers Rome Odunze, Giants J.J. McCarthy.
This is an interesting one.
There seems to be a lot of Giants out on Daniel Jones steam, in on drafting a quarterback steam, which if you're the Vikings is bad news if you want a quarterback, 'cause that's just another team. Atlanta, as of right now, is another team until Kirk signs with them. Sounds like they want a veteran quarterback, though. So Titans take Joe Alt. Falcons take Dallas Turner. Bears take Malik Neighbors, wide receiver LSU.
Okay.
Jets take Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle. And that puts the Vikings on the clock with the number 11 overall pick, where they select Florida State edge rusher Jared Verse.
I want a mock.
Bo Nix goes 12 to the Broncos, by the way.
Interesting.
12.
Michael Penix does not go in the first round of this mock.
I hate to say this, but I'm sort of down on the Chuckster right now.
The Chuckster.
I'm sort of down on. I sort of like
Charlie.
the McCarthy to the Giants guess. But first of all, there's no trades, and second of all, Bo Nix. Do you really think Sean Payton's going to have the patience to develop Bo Nix?
Well, what smarter people than me have said about Bo Nix is he is really accurate in that short to intermediate range that he likes his quarterbacks to be accurate in. That he's like an on rhythm, short, intermediate pass specialist. So yeah, I mean, the write-up here is this might be a surprise to some at number 12, but it's not a surprise that Broncos head coach Sean Payton could be interested in a passer whose accuracy in his last 2 college seasons was reminiscent of Drew Brees.
Okay.
There's been a lot of Broncos Bo Nix steam the last couple weeks, I feel like.
The discussion that we had probably was on Monday about Sean Payton and a potential veteran quarterback. I just don't think at this point in his career, Sean Payton necessarily would have the patience to put up with the mistakes that a guy like Bo Nix would probably make. That's what, like Sean Payton back in the day, as a young man, would have been fine. Sean Payton seems like a surly old man right now.
What makes you think Sean Payton's impatient? I don't know, the $90 million in dead cap that the Broncos are eating to get rid of Russell Wilson?
Well, the Russell Wilson thing was handled so poorly, and that was not a George Payton production. That was Sean Payton.
Well, getting rid of him?
Well, and how they did
bringing him in was a George Payton production.
No, I'm saying how they handled it. Not. It's fine to come out with the release saying he's not coming back, but like the melting down on the sideline thing and trying to embarrass him and stuff.
Yeah,
that's all. That's Sean Payton.
What's amazing is
I'm not a
George Payton was a fantastic assistant general manager with the Vikings for a long time. Most general managers that would step into that role and have this type of like nuclear explosions and things going wrong would not still be employed.
No,
I'm not saying he should be fired. I'm just saying like, I'm kind of shocked that dude has not lost his job yet. So he must be doing some other things right behind the scenes to sort of overcome and persevere through this. But all right, we got to go because we got to get to a Write That Down edition of Purple Daily. So you're going to see 2 episodes on your feed here today, and we will keep you posted going into day 7,562 of Kirk Watch.
You like that?
24.